I wanted to speak at length about the perception of amnesty, but there's not time to do that. So I'm going to focus, as an ex-soldier who served in Northern Ireland twice and in Iraq and Afghanistan twice, on what I believe the impacts of these inquiries are on those who are serving and may serve in the future on our armed forces. Retrospective investigation of actions taken in Baton, Iraq, Afghanistan and Northern Ireland break the covenant that the government, Parliament and the nation has with our armed forces. Those who have served feel betrayed. Those who now serve are concerned, and those who might have served now might not. However necessary the government might insist that these inquiries are, however fair and proportionate the investigatory process is designed to be, merely the prospect of this is enough to make those serving now hesitate before pulling the trigger. In battle, that hesitation costs lives. Those who serve now do so inspired by this nation's relationship with its armed forces over the centuries that have been. To defile that relationship is to diminish our military capability now and in the years to come.
The Minister for Northern Ireland, Chris Hopkins.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr Pritchard, and what a pleasure it is to serve under your chairmanship. I'd also like to congratulate the member for Lagan Valley, not only for their the content of the speech, but the honesty and the power in which he communicated his feelings on this very important matter. I'd also congratulate colleagues around the chamber. Some have intervened, some have made speeches, but I'll just comment briefly on a couple of those before I make some comments about the government's position on this. First of all, can I just recognise the member for Wells and the passion which he speaks as a former soldier, and I speak as a former soldier as well. And I do, I look at the people who have made this contribution. There is a mix of people, some people who have served, some people who represent communities which suffered terrible violence over a long period of time. Some people who represent areas with soldiers, people who have served on committees. There is a huge interest and a huge commitment to try and find resolution to some of the challenges we've still got in Northern Ireland. And the House should be very proud of the fact that it can bring people together with a knowledge and a determination to resolve some of these issues. But there are difficult issues to address, and I'd just like to compliment my opposite member, because you can just be sucked into a narrative which says that soldiers are always right. I served in Northern Ireland, and I was extremely proud of the professionalism in which my colleagues served, and I know there were hundreds of thousands of soldiers who served very bravely. But to answer the question which the member for Newbury mentioned about the way the world looks upon us at this moment in time and how we treat our veterans, one of the reasons why our services are looked on as such a professional body of peoples is the high standards that politicians, our military and our public expect from soldiers as well. And it only takes one person to commit an act which undermines that reputation. So it is important that regardless whether you are a soldier or whether you are a terrorist, if you have committed a wrong or there is a thing to be answered, then it should be answerable. And by all means.
Minister, a number of people have said that the military are held to a higher standard, rightly so, but they're held to that higher standard at the time of the engagement and in the immediate aftermath. They are invested by the RMP and SIB there in theatre. What doesn't need to happen is the investigation 40 years later of people who have done their duty and long since stood down.
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his intervention, and I would just say that I sat and listened to the former Prime Minister's contribution around the Bloody Sunday investigation, where I've got to say, refused to accept a narrative which I'd heard for many decades around what happened. And there was a clear wrongdoing there. And so there is moments when we have failed, and we should hold our hands up, and we should not just capitulate to a romantic message that we are always right in the military.